Murdorf and the Mortal Flaw, Book 1, Chapter 36, Discouragement. It was now the dead of winter, and there was still no sign of the sword. Luckily for the riders, they were traveling in the southern regions where the climate was less harsh. They probed every corner of the vast land, searching for elk and cosby, but it was to no avail. It was as though they had fallen off the face of the earth. They sunk deeper into lassitude with every passing day, riding through rain, occasional gales of wind, and even hail. Tired, miserable, useless. The riders also grew accustomed to the sense that someone or something was following them. The gnawing feelings had dissipated with time. Osney remained optimistic, trying to keep his spirits alive. Mongard still got away with playing practical jokes without becoming suspect. Once in the middle of the night, he stuck Vandorf's freshly polished boots in a pile of dragon dung. Navi was blamed for the mischievous prank. No matter how much he denied it, Vandorf doubted his innocence in the matter. It was common knowledge that the further southwest they traveled, the closer they got to Quaidar, hence the thicker the droves of derves. They had traveled this long journey without spotting a single one, but now a group was following them from tree limb to tree limb. Their annoying and discouraging whispers were a nuisance. The mood remained heavy. These negative notions were spurred on by the mendacious murmurs of the derves, urging them to turn back and abandon their quest.
"This is useless. You'll never find the sword. Turn back,"
one breathy voice told them.
"People don't care about the sacrifice and effort you're making. You really should just go home. Nobody cares,"
said another.
"The immortal king didn't ride with you. He even knows it is useless. He doesn't care about you mortals,"
said another.
"Life is short. Just go have some fun,"
said another. The redundant whispers reverberated in the rider's head. Words of doubt seeped into their conscience like poison in an underground stream. They breathed lies, uttered curses of defeat, talking a blue streak of dissuasive words. Ignoring them was almost impossible. The whispers were persistent and relentless, like a babbling fool that prattles enough that he can finally get his way. Behind every tree was a word of discouragement. Above them, to the side of them, in front of them, they could not escape. Their only strategy against these taunting devils, other than killing them, was to continue to tell themselves the opposite of what these lies insinuated. That daunting task became more difficult as the riders grew disheartened and weary. The leeching whispers had begun to suck the life out of them. They wanted to quit. With rising tensions, some tried to cope in various ways. Osney hummed and sometimes forced a smile on his face, even when they were sloshing through mud. When anyone said anything about the creatures, he always reminded them that it was all lies and to just ignore them. When Mongard got tired of riding or discouraged in spirit, he leapt off his mount, passed the reins to Navi, and sprinted through the woods, leaping off trees and rocks. His head jerked occasionally, but it never interfered with his ability. In fact, some wondered if it didn't help. Vandorf was growing fighting mad. He was tired and frustrated and was longing to get the dirt off of his body. He chafed at the lies. At one point, the earth dweller pulled out several of his throwing spindles and peered into the trees above him and threw several of them, all of them sinking into the intended targets. "Bloody little infernal, insidious, hell-born incubant," he shouted, throwing several of the spindles. The spindles penetrated the thin skin of the targeted derves. They shrieked with ear-piercing cries and then fell to the ground. Now a hornet's nest was stirred up as a horde of derves leapt from their trees, landing on the riders and their beast. The mounts were startled, rearing and running to get away from the devils. Now a fight was on. Some perceived it as a chance to rid themselves of pent-up frustration. Fleece did as he was efficiently trained to do by his grand mentor, and sliced through derves like butter. Mongard was unmoved, leaping as effectively as the nimble creatures that were upon him. Before long, they had them in a chase, no match for this wild man. Boldar rammed his sword through as many as he could catch. When a pack jumped on Ormandel, Zorgar, and Osney, he was glad to yank them off their backs and slay them. Unfortunately, not before their sharp claws dug into their skin. Gilgor grabbed derves from the tops of trees and pitched them wildly across the overgrowths of the forest, sometimes even stomping them beneath his huge feet. When he swung his giant-sized sword, he cut them in half. Windsor silenced the now chaotic scene with a few rambling-sounding words that sent the derves flying. Those few who had managed to escape ran off in every direction. High-pitched screams echoed through the forest as they fled for their lives. Only one derv remained, and it was between Nodora's hands, being shaken to death. Frustrated and furious, she had grabbed a single derv, separated from the pack. She had it in her grasp, wrapping her fingers around its neck. She slammed it to the ground, got on top of it, and began choking it and violently shaking it. As she did so, she shouted childish words at it. She ranted on, disregarding all proper conduct or bearing for a princess. Finally, she arose, slung the derv into the woods, lifeless and as limp as a rag doll. Finally cooling down, Nodora could hear the snickers of some of the riders. "How is it that nothing seems to bother you?" Zorgar asked Osney. "You have to train yourself to stay focused on the mission without focusing on the inconveniences along the way," Osney explained. "You can't change things by worrying about them." Osney paused to let that sink in before he continued. "And try to enjoy every moment in life that you can. I might not enjoy everything about this situation, but I am enjoying the company. And if I get to where your company gets lousy, then I will try to enjoy the scenery. And if I can't do that, then I'll appreciate the fact that I'm getting to serve for the good of humanity, that I'm alive and that I'm well." He took a deep breath as if simply enjoying the fresh air and being alive. "When it gets too bad, as it does in war, I resolve myself to what will be, and knowing I have lived with integrity and will die with integrity." "Good philosophy," Zorgar said. "I wish I were a prophet," Nimri said. "Why?" Amaze said. "There's a great responsibility that comes with such a great gift." His profound wisdom amazed Windsor, and Windsor had met many people in his life who desired his giftedness, but almost no one who understood the responsibility that comes with such a gift, especially when it came to the young. Nimri felt like a fool for shaming himself twice now. Stopping at a nearby river, they let their beasts drink some water, while they all cleaned up from the battle, washing off the blood, both of the derves and their own. Murdorf was quick to let down his hair, yank off his clothes down to his underpants, and scrub his body from head to toe. Ormandel took off his shirt. One of the derves had jumped on his back and dug its nails into his flesh. The devil had raked its claws down his back, leaving a rut for each claw. The riders were laughing and teasing Nodora about her juvenile behavior until they saw Ormandel's bare back. The atmosphere changed instantly. The revelry ceased, and the merrymaking turned quiet and solemn, even awkward. Deep scars marred the warrior's back and chest. Some looked like burn marks, others bore the distinctive marks caused by the plowing of a whip. Noticing the sudden shift of mood, Ormandel realized they were staring at him. He felt uncomfortable being the center of attention. He looked over his shoulder and knew he had to say something. He was quick to reassure them. "It's all right. I know it looks bad, but at least I'm alive." "What was it like there?" Nodora asked with a tone of compassion to her voice. "It was hell," he answered.